Hello YouTube, I call myself Tecker, and I want to spend a few minutes to talk about a Battlefield topic that hasn't been getting much attention. The fact that it hasn't been getting much attention is fine. Battlefield has much bigger problems I'm sure you're already aware of. He's another YouTuber talking about netcode, attack helicopters, and DLC, right? So what I want to talk about is class balance. Obviously, this area will not get changed at all for Battlefield 4, and I'm much too small of a broadcaster to affect the design of future games, but that's not going to stop me from at least sharing my thoughts. Let's start with the Engineer class. I think the Engineer class has lost focus in recent games. In Battlefield 2142, for example, an Engineer could one-shot tanks if aimed correctly, but the Malikov and Turcot PDWs were horrific weapons. This forced the Engineer to focus on vehicle combat. Whether or not to play as an Engineer was a real decision, as you'd be left very weak to infantry. Fast forward to Bad Company 2. Anti-vehicle weapons became much weaker, but Engineers were even better at PDWs. This made them less effective against vehicles and more effective against infantry. Choosing to play as Engineer no longer had as significant a cost. Heck, the Gustav was specifically designed as an anti-infantry bunker buster. In Battlefield 3, anti-vehicle weapons were not changed much, aside from adding anti-air weapons and removing the fly-by-wire AT-4. But Engineers got an upgrade from PDWs to carbines. Carbines rival assault rifles. Assault rifles are definitely a better class of weapon than carbines, but not by a whole lot. This effectively made the difference between Engineer and Assault come down to the gadgets. Bringing an Engineer into the field then had nearly no disadvantage. Today, Battlefield 4 allows all classes to use carbines, so the Engineer hasn't changed much from Battlefield 3. We have access to better launchers and more gadgets, but this doesn't really impact how the class is used. Engineers need more focus. There's currently little reason not to use the class. Engineers can find themselves comfortable in infantry-only roles such as Operation Locker, Operation Metro, Deathmatch, and Domination. This is a problem. I believe 2142 struck the right balance. The Assault class is a bit problematic too. In most Battlefield games, Assault is the medic class. However, Bad Company 2 gave the ammo to Assault and gave the medic role to what we commonly know as support. This was not perfectly balanced either, but it was better than what we have in Battlefield 3 and 4. Multiple Assault players in Battlefield 3 and 4 are too unstoppable without vehicles. Not individual soldiers, but 3 or 4 Assault players can steamroll through an area. They have the most versatile weapons, the ability to heal, and the ability to revive. Plus, squad members can spawn on any other squad member, meaning if you don't kill all of the squad, you didn't stop their advance. It is far too easy to set up a medic train. It is nearly unstoppable. Although 2142 had the same setup for the Assault class, there are 2 key facts that made the medic train an effective tactic, but not an overpowered one. First, squad members could only spawn on the squad leader's deployed beacon. This beacon made noise, had to be placed with sky above it, and spawning players left a big missile trail from the sky. The beacon could be destroyed, effectively stopping the squad's advance. Second, it was possible to kill enemies in a way that meant they stayed down. Engineers could use their anti-tank weapon against infantry, and that infantry cannot be revived. This was much easier said than done, as anti-vehicle rockets had 0 splash. You had to hit your target square in the chest to get the kill. This was slow and cumbersome, meaning using Engineer to stop a medic train was a risky proposition, but it was at least a possible one. Like I said, Bad Company 2 had the balance a little better. Assault had the more versatile weapons, but no healing ability. Medic had the light machine guns, making a medic train a little more difficult to get going. Because of the medic's weapons, they would lose more fights. Light machine guns were good in that game, but they were no assault rifle. I think Assault desperately needs to change. We must ditch the current squad spawn mechanic, or slow down the rate of revive, or give Assault a lesser class of weapon. Currently, they are a perfect storm against infantry. When there are no vehicles to counter them, Assault is the god class. I don't have much to say about support that hasn't already been implied when talking about Assault. If Assault were to get the ammo box back, then support would likely become the medic again. I would be fine with that. I can't say which Battlefield got Assault and support most correct, since there are other game mechanics such as squad spawning that affect the class more than the class itself. Recon is the class every non-recon player loves to hate. Personally, I don't mind snipers on the other team. Sure, you'll die a few times to them, but more often than not, they're doing your team a favor by camping away from the fight. My problem with Recon is the team really needs their intel. Battlefield is won by intel, not by marksmanship. Place a tugs, throw a motion ball, at least spot things. Those intel devices are used much too rarely, and that hurts the team. I'd like to see Recon split into 2 classes, Battlefield 2 style. Recon would become Spec Ops, would have the intel devices, C4, and a class of weapon for short range and silent combat, similar to the AS Vol. Some new gadgets would need to be thought up for this class, but I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem. The second class would literally be called Sniper. It gets the high-powered rifles, the high magnification scope, the painters, etc. They would not have C4 or really any effective anti-vehicle gadget. If snipers want to snipe, that's fine, but they should not be holding the Intel devices hostage. The Recon class today can be played like this. Equip a carbine, tugs, C4, and get into the fray. The problem is I rarely see Recon players actually do this. Splitting the class would somewhat incentivize a particular playstyle. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure why Recon is such a problem in recent Battlefield games. Battlefield 2142 allowed a similar ability to play the class in either direction, and I saw plenty of Recon players using the Lambert carbine, RDXing walkers, and generally causing mayhem. Why don't we see many of those players in Battlefield today? Could it be the CODification of Battlefield? Did we have a more skilled pool of players back then? Why is it that Recon players feel like pacifists in recent Battlefield games, when the class hasn't changed much over the years? I'd actually be okay if sniper rifles went away entirely, but let's be honest, that'll never happen. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. If you like what I've had to say, please share the link. If not, feel free to berate me in the comments. We all know YouTube comments are a beacon of civility. But until next time, I'm still Tekor, and good luck on the battlefield.